According to the National Library of Medicine, the United States has the highest survival rate after the age of 75 compared to other peer countries. They have higher rates of cancer screening and survival, better control of their blood pressure and cholesterol levels, lower stroke mortality, lower rates of current smoking, and a higher average income. Dr. Matt Chalmers is a health and wellness expert, author, speaker, who specializes in the areas of long-term wellness, nutrition, women's health, weight loss, athletes' wellness, and holistic healing. Dr. Chalmers takes a holistic approach with his patients that is designed to get to the source of their issues. He's the author of the best-selling book, Pillars of Wellness, and he joined me this week to have a conversation about health and wellness and optimizing our body and gut health to live a more prosperous and fulfilling lifestyle. And he also says that our mindset around health will also help determine the way we view health and fitness as a whole. So without further delay, I'm Kevin McShann. Let's have this conversation. For Dr. Chalmers, it's all about paying it forward when it comes to the health and wellness space. So we began our conversation by him detailing just how important his work is to him and the inroads he hopes to make.
Yeah, man. So we're doing all kinds of stuff with which is basically health and wellness stuff. We're trying to rebuild people's systems all the way around. There's a lot of misinformation coming from the medical side that's hurting a lot of people. And so we're able to kind of turn some of that stuff around and give people a little bit better focus on the things that'll make their bodies healthy. So, we're doing, different things with hormones, different things with peptides, different things with cleaning the gut. We're actually looking for plaquing instead of telling people to look for cholesterol, because cholesterol is a way to write statin drugs. It's not a way to help people. But yeah, man, we're doing lots of fun things.
Yeah, and I know that it's important for you to take a holistic approach in treating your patients and identifying the source of their issues as well. I know that it's important for you to take sort of a one-on-one approach and a holistic approach with your patients. So I'm wondering if you can tell me about that.
So the real definition of holistic is taking a view of the entire body and working with something that's going to help the entire body, not necessarily natural. So we do use medications in what we're doing, but we take a look at how everything in the body is going to be affected. So we take a look at something like osteoporosis. That's mostly a testosterone problem. So we give testosterone back, the osteoporosis goes away. If we look at something like ulcerative colitis, that is a glyphosate toxicity issue, a parasitic issue, yeast issue, and we have to clear all that up, and then we have to rebuild the gut lining. So we have to use a variety of different things. We have to understand that the lack of serotonin from the tore up gut is going to give us anxiety, depression issues. It's going to be mental function. We're going to have no energy issues. We're going to have ADD, ADHD from the lack of adrenal function. So, it's just going back through and making sure that we've checked everything and we've taken everything that's going on with a person, and we're starting to try to figure out a way that kind of walks us back to getting this whole system functioning again. So that's kind of the process with the holistic care, is to figure out, okay, all of your issues, what causes all of these issues independently, then how can we create a path to clear up all of these nutritional deficiencies, toxicities, and problems like that. So that's kind of how we rebuild the body.
Yeah, absolutely. And Natalie, what does it mean to you when you give your patients ownership of their own health journey?
So that's probably the most important thing, is people taking personal ownership of their healthcare. Because a lot of times people will come in and I'll say, have you done this? Have you done this? Have you done that? And they're like, well, no. And I'm like, well, why? Well, because my doctor never told me to. All right, fine. So here's what we're going to do. And then as these people start taking more and more control, like, hey, I'm working out more often. Hey, I went and researched this thing. Hey, I looked at this thing. Hey, I'm starting to take my supplements every day and work out every day. As soon as they start taking personal ownership, personal responsibility of their healthcare, it always gets better from that point forward. So the first thing I try to do is establish goals for our healthcare, and then make sure the patient knows at what points they can really increase their own health by doing things at home for themselves. And so teaching people to be healthier is probably the biggest piece of what we do. And that personal responsibility piece is the reason people get so much better with us.
And I know that part of most of what you teach is also in your book called Pillars of Wellness, where you sort of help people cut through the information that they really need to take ownership of their health. So tell me all about Pillars of Wellness and what it's all about.
So when I first wrote the book, I wrote the book during COVID because I had to have something to do. But it was basically the kind of the path of how we go through and how, we work with people. There's a lot of there's more misinformation than there's actual information. Talk about lifting weights and how we should start lifting lighter weights slower with full range of motion, getting rid of bars like bench bars and squat bars, and how important that is to get the actual function back in the body. We talk about, parasitic issues. We talk about, yeast overgrowth. We talk about how the mental aspect, the psychological piece, affects the physical and the biochemical with the shunting of neurology. So sympathetic is fight, flight. Parasympathetic is resting, digesting. There are things we need our body to do biochemically that cannot happen when we're stressed out. Production of testosterone is a great example. We into something called cortisol steal, which is when we're stressed out, we produce cortisol, we don't produce testosterone. And so oftentimes we have to give testosterone so the body will heal in all the ways it's supposed to. So that the book kind of goes through kind of those ideas. It goes through the importance of balancing hormone function. It gives the importance of how the mental aspect. It touches a little bit on the legacy piece or the spiritual piece of how we interact with the people around us as well. So it kind of gives you a good overview of all the ways that we need to be healthy, both from the way we move, the way we work out, to our chemistry, to the nutrition we eat, the hormones we take, the way we think, and the way we interact with the society around us. It's kind of a brief overview of how we run the entire practice.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Matt, I'm also curious to ask you about communication when it comes to healthcare, because, talking to men specifically about health can be drastically different than talking to women about healthcare. So tell me about how you best communicate with your patients to get to make sure that they optimize their health as well. How important is communication?
Communication is the most important thing in any relationship, whether it's your marriage relationship, your doctor-patient relationship, your buddies, if you're hanging out with your friends. And so the first thing I always like to do with people is I say, all right, what are your goals? What I know what I consider healthy. What do you consider healthy? What do you want out of this? That's literally the first question I always ask. And they say, well, I want to be healthier. And I'm like, that's fantastic. What does that mean to you? Does that mean lose fat? Does that mean gain muscle? Does that mean we work on not having heart attacks? Does it mean that we work on, hey, my dad had prostate cancer. How do I not have that? what does that mean to you? And so we have that conversation. And sometimes with some of our newer patients, they can take 30 minutes or an hour and a half just trying to figure out what it is that they want out of the experience. And as soon as we figure out, hey man, I know what you want, I know what you consider healthy, I know what your goals are, I can then help them achieve those goals. Because if I was like, man, you should work out 5 days a week, and they're like, I am never going to work out 5 days a week, we can be talking back and forth on that forever and never get anywhere. So it's always, what do you want? And then what I've always noticed is that as we start getting them closer to their goals start changing. They start pushing them out a little bit further. Well, now I want to lose 20 pounds. Now I want to gain 10 pounds of muscle. Now I want to make sure that we don't have those heart attacks, those type of things. We build up as we go along.
And Matt, I know that patients are typically referred to you when traditional medicine and procedures aren't effective. And I'm curious to ask you the importance of sort of embracing diversity and being nimble when it comes to healthcare, because when you treat people medically, not one size fits all, right? So tell me about the importance of being nimble and diverse when it comes to healthcare as well.
Well, and that's one of those big things. The first thing we have to understand is that, like I said, what does the patient really want? And I'm going to be limited by what the patient really wants. But the thing is that a lot of times when we look at it from the medical standpoint, it's what can we force the body to do? And with the more natural holistic piece, it's where does the body want to go? Right. So for instance, medically, they'll say, oh, your gut's really inflamed. You have IBS. We're going to give you this steroid that decreases inflammation. Well, from my standpoint, it's always, why do we have the extra inflammation? It takes a little bit longer to figure out why. So for instance, a lot of our celiac and IBS patients, it's not the gluten, it's the glyphosate, which is why all these patients can eat bread and pasta when they go to Europe, because glyphosate's been banned for over 20 years. So what we'll do is we'll kind of go through and be like, okay, how do we get the body to go back to its original function? Well, all we have to do is remove the things that are creating problems, disharmony, and we increase the things that are causing function or harmony. So in like the IBS issue, we take out the glyphosate, we take out the parasites, we restore the probiotic, and we let the gut heal, and the IBS and the celiac will then be better, and they don't have that problem anymore. So it's a little bit more of, where do we get the problem? Why is the problem there? How do we remove the reason why the problem is there? And then how do we fix the remaining problems and bring everything back? So it's a little bit different than just suppressing the symptoms. So if someone has a knife stuck in their leg and they hurt, we don't just want to give them pain meds. We want to pull the knife out and close the wound. So it's a little bit different in functional medicine. My goal is to get you off as many medications as possible, and get your body functioning again back on food or supplementation, which is basically food if we can.
And to that point, man, I'm curious to ask you about what's your best advice for anyone looking to sort of create good nutritional or wellness habits? What's your best advice on how to make fitness a priority?
We talk about this a lot, and one of the things is just you have to decide that it's worth it to me. Like, you have to make it one of your goals, and then I tell people, you own your schedule. No matter what you think, you own your schedule. So find the time in your day where it works for you, and then just tell people, I'm not taking meetings, I'm not taking calls, I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to work out at this point, and I'm going to do these things. Putting your supplements together in the morning, at night, whatever you're going to do them. Set up a time where you can get the things you need done for you done, and then we can start kind of walking through the rest of that path. So making it consistent is probably the most important thing. I tell people, even if you go to the gym, if you say, I'm going to go to the gym every day at 2:00 in the afternoon, great, go to the gym. If you go to the gym and fall asleep on one of the machines, that's better than not going to the gym that day. Because if we just teach ourselves, I'm going to go to the gym at a certain time every single day, that creates consistency. And so that's one of those things we have to do. We have to build consistency first before we really even worry about how good of a workout did we get. Are you taking the right supplements? That's great, but are you taking them at all? If you have the structure set up, I take my supplements here, I eat like this, I work out like this, I can then go back in and change the supplements you're taking, the food you're eating, or how you're working out. It's the consistency and the ability to do it that matters more than anything else. So just get consistent and we'll make everything else better.
And Matt, when you look at the current state of healthcare sort of in America, I'm curious to ask you, what do you think the American healthcare system does well, and what do you think there's room for improvement?
So this is actually, I talk about this a lot, with all the, even the stuff we just talked about, people are like, man, he must hate Western medicine. And I don't. I love it. It's amazing. Here's the problem. What we asked Western medicine to be 150 years ago when we started building it was we were tired of dying. We were like, hey, I fell off my horse and I broke my arm and I died. I scraped my leg on something and I died. I slipped off the roof and I broke my leg and I died. We were like, I'm tired of dying. Help me not die. And if you get shot or stabbed or get in a car wreck or fall off a building or anything traumatic, you have a heart attack, man, there's nothing in the world better than Western medicine here in the United States. The problem is that that's all emergency, that's all trauma, that's all really important things right now. What's happened is that now we don't die from stuff. And so now we want a higher quality of life. We want to feel better all the time. And that's not really what we built. That's not what we asked medicine to be 100 years ago when we designed it. And it's become this phenomenal thing for trauma. But like I said, now we want to have a better life. That's where we're starting to build functional medicine. So if everybody's heard of the functional medicine type of stuff, this is new within the past 10 years. It's how does the physiology of the body work? How can we give nutrition? How can we, give the things we need to without tweaking things we don't? So the future of medicine is going to be functional medicine. And I don't want people to get this clouded view of like, oh, it's terrible. And we're going to have a horrible healthcare in the system. So in the future, we're not. I think what's going to end up happening is that guys like myself and the rest of the functional medicine guys are going to build up the functional medicine piece. The other guys have already got the trauma. So we're in a building phase, but we're going to get to a really good place where we have phenomenal trauma and we have phenomenal functional medicine, keeping us healthy and having a higher quality of life as we go. People just have to kind of hold off as we build the functional medicine piece that is the quality of life piece. So we're going in the right direction. We're just not there yet.
Yeah, and Matt, I'm going to share just a little bit about myself. So I was actually born with what's called spastic quadriplegia cerebral palsy. Symptoms that I don't have enough oxygen in my legs to walk normally. And I know for me, physical activity is important in terms of my quality of life and my ability to endure it from a physical perspective. So just talk for a moment about the importance of really embracing a physical activity, no matter how big or small, because it really makes a big difference in your quality of life, doesn't it?
It really does. So we have all sorts of research that talks about how the number one way to get rid of stress, anxiety, depression is to work out. We have all kinds of research on it. And so I use workouts in the middle of my day. I usually work out about right now so that because I get up at 4. And so my stress builds throughout the day. And then at 1, I can go work out and then my stress crashes, allowing me to rest and digest better. So that's when I eat my first meals about 2. And then we kind of come back through. There's no research that shows that in a healthy body, exercise does anything negative. It does amazing amounts of positivity from anxiety, depression, blood flow aspects, oxygenation, things like that. Now, here's the one thing, like when I get patients in who are like yourself, and we say, okay, hey, we're going to start working out. My first question is, where is the point of diminishing returns? And this is a big piece in the bodybuilding community. It's one of the reasons why testosterone is such a big play there is if we go to the gym and we break ourselves down 3 units, but our body has the ability to rebuild 5, we've done something beneficial to ourselves, we're going to get healthier and better. If we break ourselves down 3 units, but our body only has the ability to build back 1 or 2, that's called past the point of diminishing return. So we're going to do more damage to ourselves than we're going to do good. So in that case, the things we want to look at is, like you brought up oxygen, it's a fantastic thing. What's your sleep apnea numbers? Like in your case, I would want to look at, what your pulse ox is, talk about maybe hyperbaric oxygen to fill the body with oxygen and get that oxygen blood flow to the legs and the whole body so that we can decrease what's called reactive oxidative stress, which is going to create plaquing and heart attacks and strokes and cancer and things like that. So those would be some of the things we'd want to do to make sure the person is ready to go work out. So are they eating the right foods? Are they eating enough of the right foods? Do they have the testosterone they need? Or do they have the hydration they need? Are they sleeping the way they're supposed to? So exercise is phenomenal, but we have to make sure the machine is ready to be utilized sometimes before we start working out. But yes, no, exercise is one of the most important things we can do for our long-term quality of life and health.
Yeah, and one of the other things I wanted to ask you, Matt, we always hear about a work-life balance and striking the right tone between the two. But I also wanted to ask you about how do you think we can better infuse health into work-life balance as well?
So I'm not a big work-life balance person. I've heard various different, ideas on that. I get up at 4 a.m. and I go to bed at 10, and I work. If I'm not playing with my kids, I'm working. And the reason is because this is my purpose. I tell people you only get burnt out when you grind against your purpose. After 15 years, I still get mad sometimes when it's 6 o'clock in the morning and I got to get ready to come to work because I'm in the middle of doing a research thing and I've found some new stuff. So it still excites me. It still makes me happy. This is what I do for fun and for my job. So as far as my work-life balance, it's 80% work. Whenever my kids are home, I'll take time to play with them. But the rest of the time, I'm researching, I'm reading, I'm doing things like that because this is my purpose and this is my passion. So if we're doing things that are breaking us down and we hate them and stuff like that, it's oftentimes important that we sit down, we go over the psychology of it and be like, why do you hate what you do? Can we find you something that you'd love to do that you also get paid for? So the work-life balance function is real important. But the thing is that we have to understand, why do we need balance? Why do we look forward to Fridays? What is it about your life your work that you can't stand? Let's try to fix that so that you're not always feeling like you're being tortured. So that's kind of the idea that I take with work-life balance, because I know a lot of guys who are like myself, who in different industries, where at the end of the day they're mad they have to stop working because they're having so much fun. So that's kind of the view I take on work-life balance, is that we need to figure out a way to make you enjoy all the time you have during the day, not just when you're playing.
Yeah, I always tell people, man, if you find what you're passionate about, you don't work a day in your life, right?
That's exactly right.
That's right. And tell me, man, as a physician and a doctor, you kind of brought this up in your last answer, but when you look at personal fulfillment, how do you define that for yourself?
That's kind of interesting, because like a lot of people like that, well, I want to make $1 million and that type of thing. I really don't care about the money piece. My goal is, I'll know I'm done when I can fix every single thing that comes through my door. So, we've made great progress on, prostate cancer and hair loss and endometriosis, and, COVID took 4 months to figure out how to fix that. So as long as we're constantly coming up with new ways of fixing people, that's how I mark my success. So it's, figuring out how to fix all the problems. That's my goal. That's my thing. So as I figure out more and more stuff, it just makes me happier and happier.
Yeah, and I've got a couple more questions for you. The first is, when we look at maximizing quality of life, how do you think we can really hone in and focus on the quality of the type of life that we're living?
It's funny because, like I said, I ask people what their goals are. One of my favorite things is that, we can kind of boil down, out of everybody, they ask for these same things. So, getting the energy back, getting the sex drive back, getting the anxiety and depression to calm down. Those are some of the top three. And then losing fat, because people talk about weight loss, but no one cares. You're like, all right, I'm going to take 50 pounds of fat off you and give you 10 pounds of muscle or 20 pounds of muscle. How do you feel? They always like that idea. So it's always about losing fat. And so a lot of times just giving people ownership back of their body. Like, I'll sit them down and be like, hey, the reason the diet you're on isn't working for you is because you have the wrong somatotype for this macro set. So I'm going to teach you how to eat right. I'm going to teach the macro set that works for your body type. And we're going to fix your hormones. And so your fat's going to come off. Don't worry about that, because as you eat properly, your body's going to go back to its original function. I was just talking to one of my patients who's lost 130 pounds in 6 months. And it was only because I taught him how to eat. He's not exercising different. He's not on any drugs. All we do is change the way he eats. And he's like, it's super easy. And he's lost 130 pounds. So things like that. So if we can go back through and improve people's ability to lose weight, to have more energy, have more sex drive, get the gains they're looking for when they go to the gym. If we can do these things, that's typically what people are looking for quality of life. And that's not nearly as difficult as people think it is. So that's a big thing we're moving with.
Yeah, and Matt, my final question for you today has to do with your own personal and professional legacy. And if you had to define it, how do you want that to be defined?
That's one of the things I talk about in the book, and a lot of times is the legacy piece. And it's one of those things where I would really want the scales balanced. Now, I talk about this a little bit. People ask me why I do so much stuff for free. It's because I do so well on the other side. I want to balance the scales out. And so I want to make sure that I want my legacy to be that I gave more back than I took. So if I make $10 million, I got to give $20 million worth of value for free to everybody around. So that's why I'm building the websites I'm building. That's why I'm trying to give away, like on my new website, the Pillars of Wellness website that's going to come out. I'm going to give videos on how to fix carpal tunnel and plantar fasciitis and stuff like that, so that people can do it at home. And so that's kind of the idea of here's the research, here's how to fix the stuff. Now you can go do it yourself, or with these supplements you can fix it. So that's kind of how I want to be remembered, as the person who did whatever he could to give all the information back so that people could help themselves. That's my big thing.
Always paying it forward, right?
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. And Matt, finally tell me, if people want to get connected with you, buddy, what's the best way they can do that?
Pillarsofwellness.com is going to be a great one. Dr. Chalmers 1 on any of the social media, that'll take you to me. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of us.
Well, fabulous, Matt. I really want to thank you for all of the hard work and dedication that you've given to the health and wellness industry, my friend, and for your time and insights this afternoon. It's most appreciated.
Absolutely, sir. Thanks for having me on.